Alright everybody, welcome back. Today, we dive headfirst into part 3 of the Secret of the Mimic DLC, and let me tell you, things are already getting intense. The primary objective is clear, if not a little daunting. I need to get to the upgrade station. Sounds simple, right? Wrong. The path leads directly through the sprawling, creepy workshops, a place where nightmares are quite literally manufactured. My immediate task is to navigate this labyrinthine industrial space, and I have a feeling it's not going to be a walk in the park. The atmosphere is just thick with dread. Every shadow seems to move, and the silence is somehow louder than any scream. I'm steeling myself for whatever horrors this place has in store. So I started making my way through the initial areas, which were these vast, cavernous warehouses. And what's inside? Oh, just rows upon rows of unpainted, soulless animatronic husks, standing there like a silent, terrifying army. It's one of the most horrifying things I've seen in this series. They're just blank canvases of pure terror. As I was cautiously inching my way past these plastic monstrosities, I stumbled upon a small, unassuming roll of film. Now, my big brain immediately kicked in and I thought, aha, a projector. I pocketed the flim, as I lovingly called it, knowing it would be crucial for whatever puzzle lay ahead in the theater. With the film roll secured, my exploration led me to a dark back room. Of course, the power was out. It's never easy, is it? On the wall was a circuit puzzle, one of those classic connect the dots to restore power deals. It took a bit of fiddling, but I managed to solve it, and the lights flickered back to life with a satisfying hum. But that hum was quickly overshadowed by a much more ominous sound. The power restoration had an unfortunate side effect. It woke something up. A colossal, mushroom-like animatronic, a fungus among us, began to lumber out of its alcove and started patrolling the very area I needed to cross. The emergence of this new threat completely changed the game. No longer could I just wander around freely. Now every step had to be calculated, every move timed perfectly to avoid the watchful gaze of this giant mushroom monster. It moved with a slow, deliberate pace that was somehow more terrifying than a sprint, its massive form casting long, distorted shadows across the workshop floor. My heart was pounding in my chest as I ducked behind crates and machinery, using the environment to my advantage. The goal was still the theater, but now there was a very large, very angry-looking fungus standing directly in my way, turning this simple task into a stealth mission from hell. After a few heart-stopping close calls, I finally managed to sneak past the mushroom monstrosity and made my way into the demonstration theater. It was a welcome change of scenery from the cold industrial feel of the workshops. The theater had a bit of that old-school charm, complete with rows of seats and a large projector booth. This was it. This was where my film roll was meant to be used. I eagerly made my way up to the booth, threaded the film into the projector, and flipped the switch, ready to see what secrets it would reveal. The projector whirred to life, casting a flickering light onto the screen below. What played wasn't some cryptic lore drop, but two of the most bizarre and hilarious vintage-style commercials I've ever seen. The first one was for something called Murray's Magic Coat Rack. The ad was so goofy and the concept so ridiculous that I couldn't help but laugh, joking that it felt like it was ripped straight out of a different game, like Garten of Banban. It was a moment of levity that was desperately needed after the tense chase through the warehouse. The cheesy jingle and the over-the-top acting were a perfect, absurd distraction from the horrors that I knew were still lurking just outside the theater doors. The second commercial was even stranger. It was an ad for Stay Up Latte, a brand of coffee by the same mysterious Murray. The tagline was fantastically creepy. I am always washing, and learning. The commercial claimed the coffee had a secret recipe and that it could somehow learn the user's preferences. The whole thing had this weird, vaguely sinister undertone, hinting at the strange technology and even stranger business practices of this company. It was classic FNAF, blending humor with an unsettling sense of wrongness that leaves you with more questions than answers. I was both amused and deeply disturbed. Once the commercials finished, a new path forward was revealed. The ads, as entertaining as they were clearly a stepping stone to the next major area. The way to the upgrade station was through the theater booth, which could only be accessed via a special costume lift. And to use that lift, I would need a specific costume. A door creaked open, leading me out of the relative safety of the theater and into the next phase of this terrifying journey. The costume workshop. The fun and games were over. It was time to get back to the business of survival. Stepping into the costume workshop, an automated audio guide began to play, welcoming me to the department. The voice was chipper and corporate, a stark contrast to the grim reality of my situation. It explained that to use the costume lift and get to the theater booth, I needed to assemble and wear a director's suit. And what kind of suit was it? Of course, it was a spring lock suit, my old nemesis. The guide went on to give a very sterile, very unhelpful warning about the extreme dangers of the spring lock mechanisms, specifically mentioning that any moisture could cause a catastrophic failure. Essentially, don't get it wet, or you'll be turned into a human pretzel. The task was laid out before me. The pieces of the Captain Spring lock suit were scattered throughout the workshop, which was now fully open for me to explore. This included the head, 2 arms, and 2 legs. But there was a catch, and it was a big one. The mushroom animatronic that I had activated earlier was now patrolling this entire area. So, not only did I have to hunt for costume pieces in this maze of sewing machines and fabric rolls, but I also had to do it while being actively hunted by a giant, relentless fungus monster. The stakes were officially raised, and my stress levels went through the roof. I began the painstaking process of collecting the suit parts, one by one. Each piece had to be found and brought back to a central assembly station. It was a terrifying game of cat and mouse. I would spot a leg piece across the room, then have to wait for the mushroom creature to pass before making a mad dash to grab it and sprint back to safety. One of the arms was actually a cannon, which was both cool and incredibly strange. I managed to find the 2 legs and both arms, my heart pounding with every successful retrieval. The shadow of the animatronic a constant, looming threat. With 4 out of the 5 pieces secured, I only had the head left to find. The tension was unbearable. I was so close, but one wrong move, one moment of carelessness, would mean getting caught by the mushroom and having to start all over again. The workshop, once a place of creative assembly, had become my personal hunting ground, with me as the prey. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant footstep of the animatronic sent a shiver down my spine. I had to find that head and get out of there before my luck finally ran out. While darting between hiding spots and searching for the suit parts, I came across several notes and emails left behind by the former employees. These little snippets of lore are always my favorite part, painting a picture of the chaos that went on here. One note was particularly grim, talking about an employee named Ralph, who was hospitalized after a serious incident with one of the suits. The person who wrote the note sounded terrified and was threatening to quit, which, given the circumstances, seems like a very sensible decision. It was a stark reminder of the real danger of the spring lock suit I was currently assembling. Another set of messages provided a dose of corporate absurdity. I found an email chain where employees were debating the correct spelling of mycelium for marketing materials. Apparently, the official design had it spelled with only 1 L. And when an employee pointed out the error, a manager simply dismissed the concern, prioritizing branding over basic spelling. It's hilarious to think that while people are getting maimed by killer suits, management is busy arguing about typos. It perfectly captures the dysfunctional and dangerously negligent environment of the Fazbear entertainment universe, where profits and branding always come before safety and common sense. The final piece of lore I uncovered was a note detailing a plan by some employees to jump ship. They were fed up with the company and were planning to steal character patterns and other assets to start their own competing machine shop. This, combined with an email from a Mr. Murray flatly rejecting a marketing idea to sell costumes to sports teams because sports never did anything good for me, just added layers to the story. It showed a company rotting from the inside out, with disgruntled employees, clueless management, and a founder with some bizarre personal grudges. By the end of this session, I had successfully collected all the suit parts and pieced together the strange inner workings of this facility through its leftover mail. My next move is clear. I have to put on this spring-lock death trap, get on that lift, and finally reach the upgrade station. I'm ending the episode here, but I'll be back. You can count on it. We're going to see this through to the very end. The secrets of the Mimic are waiting, and I am more determined than ever to uncover them, no matter how many mushroom monsters or faulty spring lock suits stand in my way. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more.